Let's talk about a guy that absolutely we both were on all summer, and that's Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk, Dave's a star in the making. It's year 4. His overall Pro Football Focus grade was second in the league, only to Tyreek Hill in week 1. They threw him 8 balls. He caught 8 balls, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. The coverage on the one ball that Purdy threw to him against Peterson it was absolutely, he was all over him, and yet he still made the catch. Purdy, by the way, had a perfect passer rating of 158.3 when targeting Aiyuk. And then you wrote a whole piece on it. It was a great piece, by the way. Everybody should go to The Athletic and read Dave's piece on the Aiyuk and Ray McCloud blocks that sprung CMC for the 65-yard game-clinching touchdown. And he just decleated DeMonte Casey, and it was just an awesome, awesome block. But I guess the question is this. Is Aiyuk, I mean, the Niners have a bevy of weapons, but is Aiyuk the number one option in the passing game for them right now?
I don't think there is a number one option for the 49ers, and here's why. Every single game, you're going to probably see a different receiver hold that title because of what the game plan dictates, right? I think that's the glory of the 49ers system, and that's why they feel that if they execute this with the 5 eligibles that they have as effectively as they did in week 1, I think they feel they can be unstoppable this season because defenses are going to be rotating their focus on a week-by-week basis depending on what they saw in the weeks prior. They're going to try to set a game plan to stop that. And as soon as the 49ers identify what opposing defenses are trying to stop, they're going to go elsewhere. So you're going to see games where George Kittle's the leading receiver. You're going to see games where Brandon Aiyuk's the leading receiver, some where Deebo Samuel is, some where Christian McCaffrey is. Maybe Aiyuk will have more games as the leading receiver than those other guys, but I don't think that this is a hard and fast rule on a week-by-week basis. But, just talking about Aiyuk, the KZ block that everybody's talking about,
awesome.
as they should be. It's awesome. But did you know that wasn't the only block that he laid on that play? Did you know that
he had 3 more or 2 more?
1 more. He had down block Alex Highsmith. He's down blocking Alex Highsmith, who is a very, very good edge rusher, who Pittsburgh just paid $18 million a year, who obviously is much heavier than Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, that's Kyle Shanahan in a nutshell is going to challenge his receivers, not only the block, but to make extremely difficult blocks. So they call it 19 structure fools, the name of the play. The fool comes from the part that Brandon Aiyuk is there to deceive the defense. He down blocks Alex Highsmith for about a second to 2 to help out the combination of Trent Williams and George Kittle on the left side. And then as soon as that, you can't fall on your ass if you're Brandon Aiyuk, and he didn't. And it's tough not to if you're a receiver working against an edge rusher. As soon as you execute that for the brief amount of time that he did, you spring upfield. And that's when he leveled KZ. So KZ was 15 yards downfield. Highsmith was at the line of scrimmage. In the span of 15 yards and 4 seconds, I timed this watching the replay, Brandon Aiyuk executed 2 blocks, one against an edge rusher, one against a defensive back. People at home need to realize how impressive that is. So he's out there catching what he had 100+ receiving yards, right. 7 catches, I think. He
8.
Did all that, had the great catch against Patrick Peterson, broke Patrick Peterson's ankles on the first touchdown. That's all great. But what he did on that play was more special than anything else, because you have a lot of receivers putting up 100 a week in the league. But what he did on that touchdown run for Christian McCaffrey was unique. And he's on track to be classified as an A-lister. And you know what happens to A-listers in the 49ers system? They get paid. And the 49ers have enough room to pay Brandon Aiyuk. That was another load of garbage that was being passed around, right? Oh, they paid Nick Bosa all this money. They don't have money for anybody else. No, they do. And the way Brandon Aiyuk is playing right now, he's going to get re-signed for big money next year.
Yeah, and not only that, Dave, I mean, go ask any football player. It's like the film room lights up. They are rolling that thing back 5 times. Guys are hooting and hollering. It's linemen are feeling good. It's the kind of block, and it wasn't just Aiyuk. Ray too. Where was Ray on that play? Since you did the full breakdown, didn't he come from the other side of the formation?
He ran 70+ yards.
I was going to say Ray's effort on that was spectacular.
I have the best quote, what I thought in the entire article was from Ray. I have it right here because he's on the backside. He's far side receiver, backside receiver.
All
That play
desire.
is,
It's all desire on
yeah,
his
yeah. So
part.
that play's going to the front side. And in that case, it has to be a 60-yard touchdown run for Ray to even have a chance to be part of that play. But
Right.
he doesn't know it's going to be that long of a run. He doesn't know if he's going to be involved or not. He decided to sprint anyway because he was like, okay, this has got a chance. Like, even if it's a 5% chance of breaking it that far, it's worth it to me. And 95% of the time the play doesn't get broken that far. So something else goes wrong, and it's only a 5 or 10-yard gain instead of a 65-yard gain. But Ray decided to put in the investment even when the return was not assured. And he said, this was his quote: "Sometimes that backside block means a lot. Once I heard the crowd going, I took off. It means more when you like your teammate. And I love my dog, McCaffrey. It's a family, man. We go so hard for each other. It shows on the field." This is just from my conversation with Ray in the locker room after the game. And that like unlocked a little
Ray's got
something for me.
not to mention Ray's got a partially broken wrist. He was supposed to be out for like 5
Yeah,
weeks.
and in response to that, I asked him about that, and he said, "I'm a different breed." So he's a different breed, and he likes Christian McCaffrey, or he loves Christian McCaffrey. That's his dog. That's what he said. So I think that's cool because let's zoom out, big picture. What's one thing that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have tried to do since 2017? It's build a locker room that likes each other.
Right.
And I think a lot of people early on said this is the biggest cliche ever. It's not a Disney movie or whatever. I think that in a league where the margins are so tight, where you're looking for every single advantage that you could possibly look for, the fact that the 49ers have tried to foster a college-like environment in the locker room where the NFL can turn into a bunch of mercenaries, just kind of playing for themselves, trying to put on the best tape for themselves. I think the fact that the 49ers have paid that attention to detail, I think it has paid off for them. And if it only makes them 1 or 2% better per game, there's a lot of NFL games that are determined by 1 or 2%,
Yeah.
and I think that Ray McCloud saying that, I mean, that was the first thing that came to mind is, I sprinted across the whole field because I like Christian McCaffrey. I think there's something to that because you don't see other teams' receivers blocking like that.
Dave, if another team's watching it, it says the same message that it would send to the Niners coaches. It's a culture play. It's a culture play. There's Ray's had no business being in that spot unless it was all pure desire. And there's a lot of selfishness in the NFL, but you didn't see it on that play. My goodness, that was a very selfless play. CMC, by the way, primed for a career year. He's been hurt in other spots, but as a Niner, there's been 21 games. He's played in all 21. He had 22 runs for 152, almost 7 yards a carry. 7 of his 22 runs resulted in either a first or a touchdown. 125 of the 152 came after contact.